PTA leaders who run for office. Most of Armenia's parliament, however, is made up of business leaders. And I use the term casually because these are really monopolists, these are oligarchs, these are people who have the resources to actually affect political change. And many of them, sure, come on in, no problem. And many of them run for specific purposes. They either run to protect their assets, because when you're a member of parliament, you have immunity, right? You have legal immunity, so you cannot be charged for civil or criminal offenses while you're serving in parliament, right? So that's one issue. Not that there should be a reason for them to be charged, but just that's one of the things that's out there. I'm sorry? There are.
You're saying they're above the law. So I mean, that's a problem right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is an issue. This is a big issue in Armenia.
The issue and the fact that there's a dissension among party members, different party members, doesn't necessarily mean it's for the benefit of the average person out there. Maybe for the benefit of his own personal needs.
Could be, yes. That has been the tradition so far. Sure, absolutely, absolutely. One second, let me just finish this sentence, and I know my friend here has been trying to ask a question. I agree that there is a sense that when you serve in government, you're above the law. We also have to acknowledge, however, that Armenia has taken strides in addressing the immunity issue of government members. Just in the last 5 years, a number of high-level government members have actually, maybe not gone to prison, but have been stripped of their immunity to stand trial on offenses, right? So things are happening in small inches and small pieces. Yes?
I don't know what you would call them, who selects them, but the monitors who observe the elections, where do they come from? Who are they?
They're people like us.
Well, who picks them?
I'll tell you, each country, each member country of the organization that I mentioned, the OSCE, nominates people, well, first of all, identifies people from diplomatic missions, from government service, from civil service, and has lists and lists of people who would be interested in being observers because they have the background, the practical background, or they have the academic training in political science or in civic education or what have you, and the interest, most importantly. And when a country asks for observers to come, there's a lottery system that takes place. So in the United States, if you're registered as an international observer, the State Department sends a notification out, and you apply, and if you're picked, then you go. So, but observers do receive training. They receive training on how to observe, what the protocols of observation is, and what the consequences of their actions are. I mean, these are very important things. And imagine, if you're not very familiar with a country, you walk into Armenia and you're there for 3 days or a week, you really have to take in a lot of information, a lot of nuanced information to be able to walk into a polling location and understand what is happening in that polling location. So it's a very good question. Who are these people? So that's how they get trained. Now, many of them are actually people who do this. There's a funny term called election tourism. People actually go to various countries through these missions just to be able to sort of experience the world in a different way. But they are very serious about their work. Well, most of the time they're very serious about their work. Some of the time they're very serious about their work. Yes, sir.
This expression of legal immunity.
Yes.
Does it apply to personal conduct? If the legislator shoots a civilian, is he not liable for a criminalist act? Yes or no? I mean,
yes.
He is.
He is. But there's a process to get to that point. There are very specific procedures to go through to strip a member of parliament of their immunity. And in the last 5 years, there have been 2 cases where that has occurred. So it is. No, 3 days, 4 days. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like when members of Congress are censured or are actually called in front of the ethics committee and fined and what have you. Now, members of Congress here in the United States have limited immunity on certain, when they're voting, they have immunity, right? But in Armenia, the immunity extends beyond the act of voting. So it is broad immunity, but they do, in extreme cases like that, they do get stripped of their immunity and they do stand trial.
Do they have a lot of Charlie Rangels in Armenia?
I'm on camera, I cannot say that. No. But yeah, yes, there are members of parliament in Armenia, members of the government. I mean, not just parliament, who do engage in questionable activities. Let's put it that way.
That's why they need the Anti-Corruption Act.
Exactly. That's one of the things we work on as well. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, what is the criteria? What qualifications do you have to meet to be able to vote in Armenia?
Anyone who is born in Armenia and is 18 years of age and holds a valid passport, because registration for voting, voter registration is based on your passport in Armenia, is eligible to vote. There are certain caveats to that. If you've spent a certain amount of, a very large amount of time before election day outside of Armenia, there are restrictions. But you could literally be living outside of Armenia, for the prior 2 years. On election day, fly into Armenia, vote, and leave again, and you're fine, right? So there aren't very specific restrictions on who cannot vote, which I will get to because that's a major problem in the case of Armenia, because of specific issues revolving around Armenia. I saw another hand. Did you want to ask a question? Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that Armenia's government have any intention to conduct a fair elections. For example, like there are 700,000 Armenians living abroad, right? Citizens of Armenia. They intentionally deprive them from ability to vote in the embassies. They used to do it because all of those Armenians were voting against the government.
Right.
It was a significant number of votes, so they intentionally deprived them so they can't vote it. However, the names of those people are in the list. And then when you ask them why you are not taking out the names from the list, they are saying, okay, they haven't applied us, you mean the government, to take out the names. So basically, the majority, if they have a chance to vote, and then they're gonna vote against them, and it will turn, against the government, and it will change the regime, right?
Absolutely, and you did the perfect segue into what I was going to say next. If you will see, I've listed some of the central problems with the elections that we saw this time around, and I want to explain a little bit about what they are. Voter lists. That's one of the first things that any election process hinges on. What are the problems with voter lists in Armenia? One of them was what our friend over there said. There are an estimated 70,000, depending on who you talk to, 70,000 all the way to 300,000 potential inaccurate names on voter lists. If you will remember Mayor Daley in Chicago, vote early and vote often,